Welcome back to Above the Grain. I'm Aaron Moore, and on this channel, I teach you the tips, tricks, and techniques from my 20 years of refinishing experience. Inside these walls, we have restored thousands of pieces of furniture, and that's why I created this channel, so I could teach you guys at home. On this episode, I'm going to show you guys how to take up an old Credenza and make it look as beautiful as this. We're going to use products that you guys could buy at home. We did not use chemical stripper on this. So I said, watch this episode, stay tuned, and let's dive in. So this piece came in from a designer named Lisa Cameron Design. You can go follow her over on Instagram. I'll try to leave the links down below. But she found this, I believe, in an estate sale and just wants to put a minimal amount of work into this piece. We're going to refinish the top, clean up the sides, like reseal and respray the entire piece, make sure it looks presentable and resellable. These are not like the biggest ticket items. They're not worth a ton of money. So a full restoration of $2,000 is not going to be in the cards for a piece like this. That's why I thought it would be perfect to show you guys at home. But before we get started, make sure to hit the like button down below. And while you're there, hit the subscribe button while you're there too. It'll help out with the algorithm and help spread the channel of these tips, tricks, and techniques on the furniture refinishing process. But while we're on the quick break, I got a little bit of acetone, which means you guys could all buy this at home. Home Depot, Lowe's, Ace Hardware. And I have a little bit of 4-aught steel wool. This is the super fine. This is just an old, worn out, oiled finish. And as you can see, it's been stained from probably like a runner, like a linen sitting on top over it for 20, 30 years. But what we're gonna do, instead of using the methylene chloride stripper, we're just gonna do a quick wipe down on the surface. And you're gonna see this white rag here in just a second start getting a little bit dirty. It's picking up any of the extra oils, dirt on the surface, just stuff that's going to cause issues with the sanding and the finishing process. So we're going to start with a nice clean surface, even though at this moment it doesn't look clean because you still see the two-tone. But when you take a step away, you can see right here about this line, this looks clean. You can see that orange is a little bit lighter tone, and here has a lot more darkness. It's a lot of the dirts, the old oils sitting in the wood. We want to make sure that all comes out before we get into the the sanding process. And the pro tip, always kind of keep your rag sitting right here on the front, so if you drip anything over, it doesn't drip down on top of, especially on these ones, those cane doors. You can kind of cause a lot of issues by doing that on those cane doors. Kind of ruin that patina of the 50-year-old piece of furniture. So I'm going to work my way down the sides, and now you have to deal with gravity. So kind of keep the rag underneath you while you're scrubbing. And you can just feel it just feels clean once you wipe it off. There's a texture to it. I can't really explain it to you at home, but once you start diving into your own project, you'll see as well. Like there's just a feeling to it that it's back down to that raw wood. This also gives you the opportunity at the moment to inspect it. Look for any damage, any scratch marks, any chips, any loose veneer. You're going to find that right now while your hands are on the piece. Kind of take note of it. I like to grab a little bit of green tape or yellow tape and just put a little spot if I find a dent somewhere so I don't forget later in the process. And one more little pro tip here on the front. A lot of people are really nervous on this caning, and it can be nerve-wracking, but I got just my little bit of acetone. I'm just going to wipe up on the surface, and it's just cleaning off any of that residue or just dirt buildup, whatever you want to call it. You can see when it's saturated, the color comes back, and as soon as that acetone dries, it's going to go back to that little bit of a gray tone. Once we put a coat of sealer on it, it's going to go away. It'll richen back up and be good to go. Like I mentioned, we're not doing a full restoration on this. We're just trying to bring back alive what's already here. So I'm going to remove the hardware. I probably will remove the legs as well, so that way we can put it on a dolly and then just spray it with all the doors in and make sure the doors are all aligned. There's a loose hinge right there, and everybody noticed that earlier today. So we'll check all the screws, make sure everything lines back up properly, and then I said we can get everything sanded and ready to go in the spray booth. So it's been about 15 minutes of prep work so far to get it to this point, and we're already about to the point of sanding. So like I said, this doesn't take a lot of work, But we like I noticed those hinges were loose. I'm going to start from the door 1, work my way down 3, 4, all the way down the line. But I'm going to just go around and tighten up all these screws. So these are like a knife hinge, and so I have 2 different type of screwdrivers as well, just to make sure that I get a nice secure tightening on it. So I'm going to go around and just check it because they have screws on the top and the bottom. And my assumption is on this one is that the screw is either broken or it's not even there at all. So we'll dive into that right now. I said by doing that, we're checking, making sure. I said they always have a little bit of play in the pivot hinge itself, but it's not loose anymore. It's not falling off. It's not going to cause any damage once we're done. But now, in a moment of truth. That yes, it's hard to tell. I don't know if we can get it, but it's missing this first screw right here. There's no screw. Let's see. And it doesn't even look like it's broken. It just looks like the screw is missing all together. So I'm going to go in my little box of goodies, see if I can find one of the original types of screws, and we'll put that back in, and that should be the fix. Now I have the original Phillips head back here, and I'll get it lined back up now. In this little crevice with this, one of the boards here, it was really hard to get in there with a flat head. Phillips is a lot less likely to slip on me, and I don't want to cause any more damage. With fixing one problem, we noticed the second. Now the door is tight. We got those screws in. Let me just double check these ones here on top. Make sure they're as tight as can be. But we were noticing it doesn't really want to stick to this magnet. We were wondering why. Well, the reason is the magnet here on the back side is only touching about 1/8 of an inch here on the end, and you can see there's this little black pencil line. That should be dead center of this magnet. So right now you can tell we're off by about 1/4 of an inch. So now I said we're going to remove that, put it back in the right location, and then we can see if we have to do anything else with these new magnets, or with the old magnets I should say. I decided to put a new magnet on. It's a double magnet, one for each door. You can see it's a little bit wider, but now it closes without any issue. It stays closed, remains closed. Like I mentioned, the doors are a little warped, but I said everything is prepped. Now I'm going to get all the stuff I need to get the sanding done so we get this thing ready to go back in the spray booth. So on full restorations, as you guys know, we disassemble everything. Doors, hinges, labels, cover, do everything that we can. With this one, I'm just going to remove these leather pulls and the brass hardware that's above it. So that way it's not in my way. We don't get any lacquer on them. And I said it'll just give it a little bit better of a finish versus, I said, getting these all messed up. And it's possible that the customer is going to replace these too. These cabinets are really notorious for this leather pull to go bad. And I even think somebody replaced them with some cheap leather at some point, because normally it's a little bit thicker than this. And I even notice right here too, this screw here is stripped. Yeah, the screw there is stripped, which is always the last screw. So which means somebody's played with this before. Use a little bit wider of a screwdriver. And we've got that one out. There we go, beautiful. So now everything's closed up. We can get the sanding stuff ready, but before that, I have to staple the back. I just noticed the back was also loose. Okay, we got the clamps all set up, and now it's just getting the right angle to get these staples in without blowing them through the other side. So I said just angling it down. There we go. Let's see. A little too low. I just missed it. Went right through it. So I'm just going to kind of work my way down. So staples like this are always hard to put in because the angle really matters, because if not, you could be putting it right through into the interior of the cabinet. So I said, which is not what you want to do, is fixing more holes. There we go. So now we have a really cool tool right here. It's a little nail set. We're going to go around and just make sure everything else is tightened down as well. That way it grabs any fresh meat. We don't want any loose staples anywhere else. Like that one right there was sticking out a 1/16 of an inch. So like I said, just by doing this, it gets us set back in place. All right, as you can see, that didn't work with the clamps. We tested it, it has too much strain on it. So what we're gonna do now, reevaluate. I'm gonna come in with some glue, which we'll put inside of that, that groove. So that way it has something to bond to overnight. We'll put a good amount of this in here. We'll reclamp it, and then we'll shoot a few more staples in there. I may even add a few screws, which is what we normally would do in this situation if the staples didn't hold. So we'll get a good amount here. Get it down in these grooves. I said it's just, we always are troubleshooting. Usually this works, but obviously this bend has been happening for many, many years. It wants to stay there. So what we're going to try to do is keep it in the other direction. We'll try to get it to hold that line. So we'll see. I'm happy with that. And so we'll get the clamps again. I said, now this is not going to be as quick. We got to let this dry overnight. That's fine. Like I said, sometimes we have to, reevaluate our problems. Just like that, and get that squeezed in nicely, and then work our way to the solution. Not every single one of these jobs is going to work the way we want it to. But what we're trying to do is make this better. We're trying to fix every single problem we can. And I even notice up here, like this is kind of pushing up. So we'll probably just go the second route of adding some screws, countersinking them, and putting them into place, and just give us a stronger bond to get this cabinet holding up a lot tighter, for many years to come. Just a simple water cleanup. Just clean off any of that excess glue. And then we'll add a few screws. We'll let this dry overnight and see what it looks like in the morning. Moment of truth now. We let this dry overnight, added screw with some screws on the back side. I said I'm going to start taking these off. Let's see what we got going on. It sounds solid, so I'm pretty hopeful. I'm past the halfway point. Let's see, last one. All right. Sweet, that's good news. Get these put away and we'll get it lifted back up. Before we flip it back over though, I want you to come in and check these out. If you have misaligned doors, if you have any issues with the alignment of doors or drawers, always look at the bottom. This one here, this one's broken. There we go, it's just wedged in there. But you can see all the plastic is deteriorated, and now all that's left is a piece of metal, and this will scratch the floor on your home. If you have hardwood floors, laminate floors, this metal will ruin it. I've seen it. I've fixed stuff at homes because of this. But what we're going to do now, like I remember I mentioned, after we sand it here, we're going to take this base off. And I usually have some of these old ones sitting around. I try to keep the originals if possible. If not, we'll just have to run to the hardware store and replace it with some, a couple new ones. But these little adjusters will keep everything lined up. It'll keep, especially with longer cabinets like this. This is probably 6.5 feet long. What we're going to do is your floor may not be even. You might have tile floors or a low spot in the floor. This will keep everything nice and level. All right, Ivan helped me flip that over. I'm going to get my mask on, and we're going to get sanding over here. And so we're going to get this all back to that original walnut. It's going to be a beautiful piece. I can't wait to see this one once it's in the spray booth. You can see we got it back on its feet. We got the top completely sanded, 150 and 220. Now I'm just going to give it this whole thing a final sand with this special sponge that we use. Get this thing to kind of polish out, close up any of those fibers that are left. And then we'll get a coat of stain/oil. I'll explain what that means in just a second. But we'll get that on. So hopefully we can get a coat of sealer on this guy today. I think I got just about done on the top. Then I'm going to do is just a light scuff around the doors and the perimeter on the caning, and then we'll get the air hose and blow it off. Like I had mentioned earlier, we're going to remove the base just to make it easier to spray, and then we get, we have to actually tighten these legs down. The legs are a little bit loose, and then we could find the new sliders that we have to purchase or find. We'll see if I have any extras sitting around. But I bet a lot of you didn't know that these come off. I'd say about 90% of the time, these are removable. And probably of that, half the time, they're actually removable here on this leg too. So it's every piece is different, but we try to disassemble it down as far as it'll go to get the best finish possible. Like I had mentioned, this piece alone, we're not doing a full restoration. We're trying to just clean this whole thing up, make it look better, and and presentable, so that way the designer could sell it and still make a profit on the piece. This is why I'm a little bit of a hoarder, just for this reason right now. I found, actually we had 3 that were broken. We only thought 2 were broken before, but I found a set of 4 of these that are the original style, same kind, same like brown tone, and I said luckily same thread. So we'll be able to get this in. Now I'm going to have to get lucky and see if I can find any more if we never need these again. Because usually we replace one at a time. If there's one broken one, we'll swap it out. This one was all 3 of the 4 were bad. So once we get these set down in place, like there's the extras, we can throw those away. I'm going to flip it over now, get just a crescent wrench here, and just tighten up these square nuts right here, because the legs are all a little bit loose. So we're going to just tighten these down the best that we can, so that way we don't have any type of wobble. So now you can see we're using the Mohawk wiping stain natural. This is from that 545 series. That's the stuff that we like using here. And luckily for us on this is what they call a stain, but when you apply it, you're gonna see right now, what it really is just a natural oil that'll just help us get the sealer on. It'll seal it up a little bit before the coats of finish go on. And I said, it'll bring out all the colors. I said, watch this. Get a little bit, you can see it on this rag now. Like there's not a lot of colorant to it. It's strictly just, like I said, I like to call it an oil. It's just hydrating what's already there. We're not adding any color to the piece. And now you can see we got the top done. I'm gonna come over here and do this side so you really get a look. So we'll start over here. I said, look at the color of that walnut coming back. It does show some imperfections, which just is the character of the piece. That's what the customer asked for. Just a little bit of patina is what you want to call it. So we'll spin it a little bit. We're going to do the same thing here across the fronts of the doors, and this is where you're going to see a dramatic change, because these doors will start hydrating and that cane is going to start coming back to life. It's really important too to dry off any excess. You don't want any of that. That's how you're going to have adhesion issues or chemical reactions. And this is why I'm talking to you, Adrian. My friend Adrian has been having issues with stain, and we've never had issues. So if you follow these steps, you're not going to have any issues with adhesions or color, problems, chemical reactions, any of those kind of things. I've been doing it this way, for over 20 years now. So, why switch up what works? Why should I try new products? Why should I test new things out when I know this works for 99% of the jobs that we do? Okay, just getting the legs wiped down one more time. There we go. Get my hand off of it, make sure I don't leave any fingerprints on it. So we're gonna let this dry, hopefully a few hours. We get it in the spray booth for some sealer, and then we'll come back tomorrow sanding the sealer, a little bit of tinting, just like in that other piece that we did with the desk. We had to do a little toning on that one as well. I assume that this will have the same thing. So we'll see how this dries and get a few coats on tomorrow. Okay, we let that dry overnight. Just giving it a quick sanding, get that sealer nice and smooth. There we go, I think we got it. And then I see a few touch-ups I'm gonna have to do here on the top. A few little edges got some damage. I said, who knows what what story this piece has told over its lifetime. There's how many people have tried to refinish it, how many people have damaged it. And now it's here at Moore's Refinishing, so we can make it perfect once again. Made up a little bit of my touch-up, concoction, and we'll come over here just carefully and tie in this little burn mark. What happens here, it's actually unique. This is, I think, this is a 45, so a lot of times this will shrink over time, causing this to be a little bit of a weird section, and when you go and sand it, it will pass the edge of the veneer. For whatever reason, it lifts up, it's raised a little bit. It's just when they're 45-degree angles like that, there's just something that happens to these old cabinets. But I said nothing that we have never seen before. It's pretty common. It's just knowing like how to make this touch up, go away, blend it all back in, become an artist for a few minutes, add this grain back. And then we can get it in the spray booth and get a little bit of toner on the top. Because the same thing on this Credenza, that the top is about a shade lighter than the sides. I'll kind of show you that before we get it into the spray booth. Just blending in this back edge as well. And I just noticed, because it is an MDF particle board, it does look a little weird on this back corner. But let me show you this before I get it in the spray booth. You can see how the side is a lot richer of a walnut, a lot more browns and reds and oranges are still in the wood, where this top is a little bit more of the yellows and gold type of colors. So now we got to throw it in the spray booth, do a little bit of a medium brown like walnut toner, get that on top. All right, as you can see, we have a little bit of the toner sprayed on the top. It's even again, it looks amazing. I'm gonna throw it back in the spray booth, do a coat of sealer to lock all of the toner and those touch-ups in. We'll come back later today, sand the sealer one more time, and we'll show you the grand reveal in just a second. Before I show you this beautiful Credenza that we just restored, go down, hit the subscribe button, help us with the algorithm, showing off furniture that we've restored just like this. Like I said, now this is, we believe it is a Knoll Credenza, 4 doors, cane. As you can see, I said it was all beat up in the beginning of this video. It was destroyed. We brought it back using, like I mentioned, chemicals and materials you guys could buy at home. No chemical stripper was used on this. Everything was done with the acetone and just hand sanding. So I said, come take a look. It is a beautiful Credenza. If you guys have any questions about this restoration, leave them down in the comments below. I would love to help you guys out. We'll see you guys in the next video.